Raider Nation, what's going on? You're watching the Raiders Report, and today's show is sponsored by Mint Mobile. We have plans starting at just $15 a month, so start saving today. Head on over to mintmobile.com/chatsports, where you guys can find that link is also going to be available in the comments and in the description of today's video. All right, let's get into the latest news and rumors circulating around the Las Vegas Raiders. Could they potentially trade for Bears star defensive end Robert Quinn? I'm going to give you a Bleacher Report trade idea, and then I'm going to give you my trade idea. Madden, they just released ratings for quarterbacks and offensive linemen. I'll tell you what I think about Derek Carr's overall rating. I'm wearing this jersey for a reason. And then we'll also break down the Raiders offensive line overall ratings, and then some training camp news and notes because the Silver and Black worked out 3 players, and I'm going to break down some extra things that happened around the offensive line today. We're getting ready. We're getting ramped back up here for Raiders football. You can hear Jeremy Chugs in the background, and I hope you all know that we are pumped at the Raiders Report. So make sure you subscribe. Make sure you got those notifications turned on, because if something happens, we're going to let you know. And this is also a way to validate what is actually going on around the internet, because I know for one thing, man, it's a crazy, crazy world we live in. So seriously, hit that sub button. Let's get in now into the rumor, and probably one of the reasons why you clicked on today's video. Bleacher Report released an article titled NFL Trades That Just Make Sense Entering the 2022 Season. Currently, the Raiders are sitting somewhere around $21.8 million in cap space according to Over the Cap, and this number has kind of fluctuated over the past 48 hours because of all the minor moves that the Raiders have made, now currently sitting at 90 players on their roster. We know one thing. McDaniel, Ziegler, they have been aggressive this offseason, and when they think that there is a position of need, they have gone and done it. Now, over the past few weeks, months, since June 1st, essentially, Raider Nation in general has been like, well, what's the holdup here? Why isn't anything else happening? Maybe the Raiders are waiting. Also, it's probably because they're trying to allocate some of their money to Darren Waller, Denzel Peryman. But in terms of Robert Quinn, this is what Bleacher Report has to say on trading for him. The Las Vegas Raiders have shown that they are willing to take an aggressive win-now approach to the 2022 season. Las Vegas traded for Adams, reuniting him with his college quarterback Derek Carr, and went out and signed Chandler Jones to a 3-year, $51 million deal. Jones and Max Crosby should give Las Vegas a top-notch pass rushing tandem at the end of its depth chart. The problem is the Raiders don't have a reliable third member of the pass rushing rotation. 2019 4th overall pick Cleveland Furrow continues to have more potential than production. The Chicago Bears, meanwhile, have shown a willingness to part with key pieces as part of the rebuilding process. They traded Mack to the Los Angeles Chargers and allowed players like Allen Robinson and James Daniels to walk in free agency. So in terms of overall production, Robert Quinn had himself a hell of a season last year. He didn't have a career high in sacks. He had the second most sacks he had his entire career. Sure, he's getting up there in age. He's been in the NFL for, 11 years now, I believe, at this current point. But 49 tackles, 18.5 sacks, 17 tackles for loss, and 4 forced fumbles is a very, very good year. He wants to get paid. He wants to be on a team that's going to win now. And Chicago, I'm sorry, that's just not the route that it's going to go. So Bleacher Report threw this trade idea out there. And if you've watched the Raiders Report, 2 weeks ago I did a video about top 5 players I think the Raiders should be interested in the trade. And this is actually the exact trade that I showed. So it was the Raiders, they get Robert Quinn. The Chicago Bears, they get a 2023 second-round pick. Here at the Raiders Report, I want your interaction because I've been to a lot of Raiders games. I've been to a lot of Raiders bars. I've sat down and talked to a lot of Raiders fans, and let me just make one thing clear. Y'all never shut up, so I don't want you to be quiet in the comment section either. Type that LV if you think the Raiders win this deal, or if you think the Chicago Bears do, type CHI. Personally, I think that this would be a good deal for both sides. The Raiders could use another edge rusher because in this division, take a drink. Yeah, I'm going to say it again. Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, Russell Wilson, you can't have too many edge rushers. And when that also allows guys like Crosby and Chandler Jones to play more of an outside linebacker role, stand those two dudes up and then have Quinn put his hand in the dirt, that's pretty impressive. And then for Chicago, they're trying to rebuild. They brought in Matt Eberflus, that entire regime. They want to try to build for the future. Now, I was told, per source, was talking to Harrison Graham, host of the Chicago Bears, Bears Now, excuse me. And he said that he personally thinks that the Bears would accept less because Quinn isn't a part of the future. There's also been reports dating all the way back to May that Robert wanted out of there for the simple fact of he just didn't want to be a part of that organization anymore. So coming up here on the Raiders Report is I'm going to give you an updated look at a Quinn trade that I believe the Bears would accept, and I actually think that this deal would be a little bit better off for the Raiders. So with the cost of everything rising, y'all, I've been really focused on just trying to save money where I can, whether it's me, whether it's for my dad, my mom, and this is why I'm super, super excited to be working with Mint Mobile because they are sponsoring the Raiders Report. So if you're looking for unlimited talk and text, we got it. High-speed data, I mean, they have the largest 5G network by a considerable margin. And it's also going to help you keep costs a little bit lower to then, save extra money. Mobile hotspots, plans starting at $15 a month. When I heard this, I couldn't freaking believe it. $15 a month, that is some just wild, wild stuff. Mint Mobile also is owned by Ryan Reynolds, and I'm a big fan of Deadpool. I've always said if I had another life, I would love to live Ryan Reynolds' life. So not only am I happy to be working with him, I'm also happy to be working with Mint Mobile. Start saving today. The other cool part about this, I should mention, you don't have to change your phone number. I would be in a shit show if I had to change my phone number. So go to mintmobile.com/chatsports. That link's going to be available for y'all in the comments and in the description of today's video. I promise you, you guys are going to like these guys a lot. Let's continue to rock and roll here with Robert Quinn and some of his numbers. Over the past 10 seasons, the only year I couldn't get was his rookie year, but for quite some time, he's been very productive. 2013, he had a career-high 19 sacks. 2014, 10.5. And then, he had a little bit of a lull period, battled some injuries. But over the last 5 seasons, 18.5 sacks, had some injuries in 2020. Then with the Dallas Cowboys in 2019, 11.5 sacks. And he was also a trade player that was rumored to the Raiders because of Rod Marinelli in the past, and I know he has some connections. But then on top of that, remember, the Raiders, they brought in Champ Kelly, who worked with the defensive line. Robert Quinn has also worked a little bit with Bilal Nichols in years past. So I talked to a few people who are close to the Bears, and this is the trade idea that we believe makes sense for both sides. Raiders receive Robert Quinn. The Bears get Denzel Good, and the reason why they would want Denzel is because that interior offensive line is in flux, and Denzel can play left guard, he can play right guard, he can play right tackle. That gives the Bears a lot of flexibility. I mean, we talk about how questionable our offensive line is. Chicago's line might be even more questionable. And then instead of throwing in a second-round pick, the Bears want picks right now, and if they're willing to give away Khalil Mack for a second and a sixth, let's throw in Denzel Good, who can be a starter on their team. Then we'll meet in the middle and give him a fourth-round pick. Would you make this trade? I understand the importance of Denzel. He is probably the second most reliable offensive lineman on the team right now when fully healthy, though I might actually give that nod to Andre James, maybe even Dylan Parham, but I am a little bit higher on Parham. So why for yes and for no would you make this trade? The reason why I also would is because I know for a fact the Raiders are very, very high, not only on John Simpson, but another name to keep in mind here is Lester Cotton, who's been getting a lot of reps at the starting right guard position. So coming up next here on the Raiders Report is Madden 23 quarterback ratings. If you guys want to check out all the ratings that I've put out, I put them out on Locals a little bit earlier today, raidersreport.locals.com. Please go check them out. But in terms of this video alone, I'm going to be talking about DC and his quarterback rankings because Madden, they put out all the quarterbacks, they put out all the offensive linemen, and here are the top 10. You got Brady, Rodgers, Mahomes, Allen, and Burrow. Those are the only quarterbacks over a 90 overall. Dak Prescott, Herbert, Jackson, Russell Wilson, Matthew Stafford. That rounds out your top 10, and I know the debate always here on this show and in Twitter, Instagram, the entire world of Raiders country. Is this Derek Carr a top 10 quarterback? Well, according to Madden, he is not. Kyler Murray comes in at 84. Deshaun Watson at 84. Derek Carr tied with Ryan Tannehill at 83. But when you look at the attributes, it's DC as the 13th best quarterback. So on and so forth. You can continue to look down those lists there for the Raiders quarterback, Derek Carr. So when you see 83 overall rating, when you see that he's the 13th ranked quarterback, what's like the first word that comes to your mind? I want to know because I'm about to give my one-word reaction when I saw the Raiders quarterback DC at an 83 overall rating and ranked the 13th best quarterback. my word was fair, and y'all can hate on me on that all you want. I do think it's a fair assessment, though, because when I look at a lot of the quarterbacks in the NFL right now, DC, I can make an argument for him being somewhere around as high as 9, and I can also see him being at 13 range. When I ranked all my QBs a few weeks ago, I had DC at 13, and when I think about my overall quarterback rankings, I said on my locals video today that Carr was an 85 overall to me. So I think that he's a little bit higher than what he should be, but I also thought players like Kyler Murray should have been higher. Deshaun Watson should have been higher. So 13th overall quarterback for Carr, I do think it's a fair overall assessment. In terms of some of the other quarterbacks on our roster, Chase Garbage is like, wait, what the hell? Why not me? Well, sorry, man, you didn't get ranked. Nick Mullins, the backup, got a 64 overall, and the Raiders traded for Jarrett Stidham this offseason, and he's a 57. Look for Mullins instead of him to be battling it out in training camp and also during the preseason. I have a feeling I'm going to be saying those guys' names quite a bit. Next here on the Raiders Report, we're going to be looking at the offensive line Madden ratings because not a lot of other NFL teams talk about O-line play as much as I do, but I've always been a big believer that the games are won and they are lost in the trenches, whether that be the O-line, whether that be the defensive line. It's why I'm getting ready to pull out my freaking hair and why the Raiders haven't signed another defensive tackle yet, but that's besides the point. When you look at these offensive line rankings, though, personally, I think that they're sleeping on the Raiders a little bit, and that's coming from me, somebody who's pretty hard on this team. Colt Miller at 84, that's a joke. Denzel Good at 73, then you got Leatherwood at 71, Andre James at 70, John Simpson, Brandon Parker, Dylan Parham, Jermaine Illuminor, and then to round out the rest of the offensive line Madden rankings, Alex Bars at 62, Ronis Grasu at 62, Thayer Munford, the rookie, at 61, Jackson Barton, 55, and then, Tyrone Wheatley Jr., Bam, and then Lester Cotton. These players were not ranked. So after seeing all of those offensive line player ratings from Madden, which player did you think is just the most underrated? And I'm going to give you two names here. I'm going to cheat a little bit. I can make an argument that almost every single one of those Raiders offensive linemen were a little bit underrated. Like I could have seen putting those like an extra 3 or 4 points higher. But the two players that really stuck out to me, one was Colton Miller. Colton Miller at 84 overall is just, I don't even understand how that's even possible. Like if Darren Waller's a 91, Darren is a phenomenal tight end. I don't want to take anything away from him. But if Hunter Renfrow even is an 85, like Colt Miller to me has got top 5 tackle potential. I would have probably had him at an 88, 89 overall. And then to not rank Lester Cotton, that's kind of foolish to me. There's a legitimate chance that he ends up making this Raiders 53-man roster. And for him not to be ranked and see Bars at 55, Cotton should be like, 67, 68 then? So to me, those are the two players that I thought were the most undervalued. The next thing coming up here on the show is going to be some Raiders training camp news and rumors. And if you already follow me on Instagram and Twitter, you'll know some of the stuff that I'm about to put out here. But hey, I get it. Sometimes you guys are busy, and I know not everyone is available for social media. And now, one of the things that I didn't really do a very good job of mentioning yesterday is the Raiders aren't doing 11-on-11s. There's no pads. So a lot of the stuff that I'm saying, just take it with a grain of salt, if you will. Parham, yet again today, took more snaps at left guard. He took snaps at right guard. He also worked in a little bit at center. I think it's one of the reasons why you're seeing and one of the reasons why I am so high on the possibility that Parham ends up starting somewhere. I just don't 100% know exactly where that's going to be. In terms of the defensive tackle room, Hankins, Bilal Nichols, and Vernon Butler, they are all injured. And today it was Tyler Lancaster, Andrew Billings, Kendal Vickers, and Kyle Peko. They were all working as the ones with the defensive tackle group. Neil Farrell Jr., Matthew Butler, they were working with the twos. But the more and more people that I talked to, and I spoke to one Raiders player yesterday, and he told me that honestly what he thinks right now is the coaching staff is trying to get a look at some of these other players on the roster bubble instead of putting the guys who are truly at number one. At number one, at least that was in the defensive tackle room, but we will see what has to be done. In terms of some other news and notes here, Divine Deablo, he's been rocking a red jersey for basically the entire offseason because he injured his writing hand. Finally was not wearing that today, and there was actually a brief moment yesterday as well that he wasn't wearing the red non-contact jersey. But if there is one thing that is obvious to me, there is a lot of really good battles going on in training camp, But Divine Deablo, Denzel Peryman, and Jayon Brown, those are your clear-cut top 3 linebackers. And a lot of other groups, again, have certain position battles, but I don't know if there's that much of a tier break in any other position because those top 3 guys, and then it is everybody else. The Raiders also worked out 3 players today. At the moment that I am making this video, they haven't signed any of them, and I don't know if they do plan on signing any of them. Jalen Elliott, safety, played a little bit last season for the Detroit Lions, did have 12 tackles, started only 1 game, played in 8, 6 foot, 205 pounds, a little bit more of a physical guy, can't cover all that well. Quenton Meeks, in his entire career, 8 tackles, 2 pass breakups. You really haven't seen him since 2020, and most of these numbers, honestly, man, they came back in 2018. And then Jameson Houston, out of Baylor, his entire career, he's played in 3 games. So not very big-name players, but it's a safety. It's 2 cornerbacks. I really think that this organization wants to look for more players in that secondary. All right, y'all, it's Friday. Hopefully everyone has an amazing weekend. I'm getting ready to get out of here. Remember, if any big-time news does end up going down around the Silver and Black, I'll probably post something on social media. And if it's big enough, I'm going to be going live here, so make sure you're subscribed, make sure you got those notifications turned on, and make sure you have a cold drink or 2 for me this weekend.